All right, everybody, welcome to our weekly live stream between Brian here at My Tesla Weekend and me. This week, I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant. Well, it won't be a rant, but it's just this thing, the idea that Tesla is an AI robotics company. Now, we are starting to see quite a number of these institutional investors who are now starting to call Tesla an AI company, who's starting to recognize that Tesla has an FSD company. And Elon himself, which is fantastic, and I'll point out a couple areas here. And just very recently, he continues to repeat as often as he can that Tesla is an AI and robotics company. But it's just this whole notion that the Mag 7 has gone on a tear. We've seen many of them take the tech AI boom that happened in the last year in 2023, and it's continued to happen now. And there's this projection that the macro is improving, and we're going to start actually seeing much more of this AI tech boom that's going to just a bull market is taking place. Now, how much of that, Brian, do you think is attributed to Tesla? How much of it is Tesla being seen as an AI company, and therefore the stock should be much higher? Do people see this? And so we're starting to see the analysts talk about it, but I'm not quite sure. I don't believe that Tesla is seen as an AI company yet today. Now, people will say it's because you got to show me revenue. You got to show me like NVIDIA. They've got chips. They're selling it now. Their earnings are skyrocketing. Tesla's not doing that. They're just all talk. That's what we're hearing today. So what's your comments on that?
Well, what a great topic. Obviously, this is history will look back at this moment and say, why weren't more people talking about this? That's how big of a deal I think it is. There is a non-zero chance that this will be so big that we'll look back at the automotive segment as a quaint thing. Do you know, hey, fun fact, kids, did you know Tesla started as a car company? There's different levels. How much is it being appreciated today? And by the way, Hans may be joining us shortly, we're hoping, but no guarantees yet. We did not give him ample notice. That is our fault. Apologies. And if there's any problems with the sound levels, let us know. There is different levels of what a company can be. NVIDIA is at the best level. They design the product, they sell the product, and they lease the product. You can rent rack time directly from NVIDIA. So whatever they have that they can't sell or won't sell or want to sell at an even more insane premium, they can hold and sell themselves. They're fully monetized. And then you've got companies all the way at the other end of the spectrum, which is we have an idea and we can build it. We just don't know who it's for or why. And that would be like Boston Dynamics. They've got a great product that doesn't have any application. The dog has some limited applications, but you'll never recoup the endless billions you spent in R&D on the dog. Even if you can get their bots into Amazon warehouses, which they're starting to, it's going to take several lifetimes to make your money back. In the middle, you've got companies like Xiaopeng and Tesla and even Volkswagen, where they have robotics and a need for robotics. They don't need customers for this product to work. They can be the customer. They can use it themselves. So it is, it puts them in a unique position because they've got all this revenue from their real business to offset the losses in R&D to develop this thing for their business. Oh, and by the way, then we can sell it to you and anyone else.
Yeah, the part that is confusing, right? It's not just, is Tesla an AI business and are they in a bot business? And they clearly are, but you can say to me, okay, you're not getting any revenue yet. Wait till you get the revenue and the sales. I get that. But it's not just that is Tesla an AI business or in a bot business. They are the largest AI company in the world. They have the best data for the most real world AI that no one else can match. And then they launched XAI to do Grok to counter and copy what others are doing with the conversational AI. And they have the most advanced bot that's out there in terms of, just you have to put everything in perspective here, not just, the ability for its humanoid form factor, but ability to think and act and the fingers and hands. There's no one else out there that has that dexterity of the fingers, hands. And of course, no one has the manufacturing. So,
Well, let's talk.
like what I'm saying to you, yeah, it's not just that why aren't they being seen as an AI robotics company? It's like, why aren't they recognize that now when they're actually going to be the best out there? I just want to point this out here, though. Just a few days ago, Elon replied and he actually said this to a tweet from Nicholas. And he said, right? He said that, Nicholas wrote a tweet saying Tesla versus BYD. Look how different these two companies are. Tesla makes these kinds of products. BYD makes these kind of products. Here's the difference in revenue, difference in profit, different employees. And he goes on and does a comparison. And Elon says Tesla is an AI robotics company that appears to be many to be a car company. When is it going to be what you're saying? Tesla's seen as an AI robotics company that at one point was a car company, right?
Okay. So the first problem with AI as a business idea is that it's hard to wrap your head around. What is it and why should I care? Now, it's easy to see image generators. We can all look at that and I get it. You can replace a graphic designer. You can, and in a lot of cases for people like me, I'm not replacing a graphic designer. I'm just getting better graphics. I get it. I can wrap my head around that. But AI is so many things. And for Tesla, so much of the AI that they already employed, is profitable. It just doesn't show up as its own line item. So let's talk about some of their real applications that they're already using today. Auto bidder. Can you tell me what auto bidder is? Oh, you're muted.
Exactly. I'm so glad you brought that up. People say that, well, for Tesla to be seen as an AI company, they need to sell AI to customers and it needs to generate revenue. That's what AutoBidder is. AutoBidder is actually an AI machine learning ability to understand the arbitrage of the energy. That's their secret sauce that they have. They're already selling it to corporations and utilities. And so it's already happening today, right? And that's one proof. FSD is being bought. I bought it, and many people have bought it, either a one-time fee or the monthly fees. That's AI. That's being bought. That's a real business model. People are buying this. Now, in this case, it's more for ADAS reasons. It's more for the autopilot reasons. They're not quite yet buying it for full robotaxi, but that is generating significant revenue. And at the same time, there's 5.5 million Teslas out in the world that are robots on wheels that are capturing data like no other. And there's no dispute that Tesla has the largest database of vision data that's being captured and evaluated. And of course, we can talk about the supercomputers that they have. So there's no one that can match what they're doing.
I would say, so for those who don't know, AutoBidder is software that runs within the Megapack environment. And what it does is it looks at all the pricing on the power market at any given time and says, oh, we're going to sell it now, we're not going to sell it now. Well, you and I could write a script in 10 minutes that says, if price over 20 cents, then sell. That's not what this is. This looks at weather patterns. This looks at historical trends. This looks at, we don't know all the parameters it looks at, but it can look at the news and see the word wildfire and react accordingly. If your auto bidder software improves the profitability of your Megapack by even 3%, that makes yours the cheapest product on the market, and it isn't even close. Beyond AutoBidder, one thing we talked about on another show that's coming up is Stormwatch. 13.5 million homes have power walls equipped with Stormwatch. The system knows that you may need more juice in the next day or two. Let's crank up your charge level on your power wall from 80% to 100%, because you might just need that. And AutoBidder is also being used in microgrids where power walls are feeding back in. And in the near future, I believe that the vehicle to grid will be enabled and that more vehicles will be able to participate in these virtual power plants, these VPPs, and being able to smart predict what's going to happen is going to be hugely profitable. And you could hire a team of humans that sit around and try to do this, and they could do it very well. but they'll never match the speed and accuracy of the AI. And that's their own coding, their own software, their own prowess in action.
So those are just a couple examples. Now, I'm trying to desperately find this thing, but Alexander Mertz, she follows the career pages of Tesla quite closely. And in one of our shows, we showed that, the career pages, they've now broken it down to eight modules all in the same page. But you got FSD, you got bots, you've got AI, they're all in the same page. Okay. Dojo. And in the Dojo career section, in that paragraph, there's a sentence at the end that says we're looking to build an API to unleash Dojo to the outside world, to the rest of the world to have access to it. So here's a big giant hint that they're already working on making Dojo and as a service, being able to sell this. So here you've got NVIDIA selling you the chips, which is a great business. There's no doubt about that. It's a massive business. Then you got Tesla that has their own chips, and they're buying Dojo, the chips from NVIDIA, which they need to do. But so it's unlikely that Tesla will ever sell the chips. But what they're going to do is sell space on their supercomputers, which they're spending so much money on. And we can show up that chart where they're going to be by the end of this year, Brian. By the end of this year, it's going to be 20 times the compute that they had last year, and they already had the 5th largest computer in the world last year. And then they even launched 2 more supercomputers, right? So by the end of this year, they're going to have the largest supercomputer in the world by far. They're going to have the most data. They're going to start offering that as a Dojo as a service to people to buy. So what are people waiting for? They're waiting for this to be, like it's AWS, and they're saying, well, prove it to me. I don't believe it will happen. Maybe this is going to be delayed by several years, but it's happening. It's happening.
It's exciting. You can make a pretty competent, pretty capable advanced driver assistance system for highways, lane keeping. You can write that with heuristic code, if then. But it's not going to be scalable beyond that. For that, you do need the AI. And I can appreciate the market's hesitation to price in the benefits of FSD until it becomes either a subscription service exclusively, where the revenue is just plain counted, or until it's solved to the point where none of the revenue is deferred. But it's there, and it's real, and it's on the horizon, and pretending it isn't is dangerous. I would say another reason that the market isn't fully pricing in AI is they don't know how to, and I don't know how to. And this early in anything, it's very difficult to know who the winners and losers will be. You and I obviously have a very strong opinion on who the winner is likely to be. But if you looked at the different image generators, the AI image generators 2 years ago, and tried to predict the winner, we'd have gotten it wrong. Because other companies, having compute isn't enough. If it was, NVIDIA would own all the AI tech out there because they've got the compute. If just having the most engineers, then it'd be Google would be the winners. But these little scrappy companies are able to do amazing things. And that's what we're seeing with XAI. It's a very small, very scrappy company. And within a couple months was able to turn out something that could rival all but the latest chat version of ChatGPT. And in the opinion of a number of people, it's already better, but I don't have enough understanding to process.
This is I'm going to have to debate this point. Okay, let's break this down a little bit. So number one, you said that AI is hard to value and hard to understand, but it's happening. So you have your Magnificent Seven that had in the last quarter of last year, the last half of last year, their stock prices all rose because of this AI tech boom. There's now estimates that of the corporations out there, major companies out there, 10% of their budget is being spent on actual AI planning and projects. And then Tom Lee of Fundstrat, he came out and he said that there's so much use cases, or Dan Ives did this as well, the use cases for AI. Companies are finding out that there's so many use cases within their own company. So the AI boom is real. And we've seen this play out in the last 6 months, a year from now, This isn't just, some fad of the .com, boom and bust. This is real, and it's impacting companies' productivity right now. So many companies, not just the Mag 7, in the last half of this last year, you saw many companies who are all sizes get that AI bump because they're an AI company. So you're right, it's hard to value it, but they are. Okay, the part I want to debate you on is it's very clear that who's going to win the AI, the big AI big winners here. Okay, we're talking AGI, we're talking about robo-taxi, we're talking about bots. It's only going to be the large corporations. It's only going to be Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Apple, or Tesla. You can't do this as a small company. Now, you're right. You can have a small team. The small team can create a small application that's going to be able to rival ChatGPT. I'm not saying that you can't do that. But in order to truly deliver an AI company to be able to take advantage of how much revenue that's going to be made there, sales and customers, you need to have massive supercompute. You need to have massive data sets that you own, by the way. You can see here that OpenAI is being sued by the New York Times because they went and scoured that. Well, guess what? XAI, Grok, has access to Twitter, which Elon owns. So there won't be as much of that issue of, grabbing the data that you have. Tesla has the data of all the cars. They own that data. They're not grabbing it from YouTube and stealing it from that information. So who's going to have access to the massive data warehouses? Who's going to have the smartest brains in the world, right? You need to have the greatest minds. It's a competition of who can steal the employees from each other, OpenAI, Tesla, and others. And Tesla has a very good position in that place. And then you need massive electricity to power those massive data centers. So that is not yet a rate limiting step this year, but it will be soon, in a couple of years. And who's going to be able to do all that? So my point is that yes, there's all these small companies and you don't know yet who's going to winners. But the truth is it's going to be a race between only the big players with the big dollars and the big efforts to be able to make this happen. So, it's just,
The thing that we saw with the Cybertruck casting, it sounded from the conversation that Sandy Monroe had with Lars and the engineering team that it was not drawn by engineers and then tested in a model, but modeled by AI and then tested by AI and then tested in real life. The benefit to that, to having AI design it, humans will just use cross hatches and put a bunch of X's in it, and the AI will come up with 100,000, 1 million iterations and test them all to figure out which one has the best flow, which one works the most consistently, and you can, but it doesn't show up on the bottom line as there's no line item for it. It does show up in the bottom line, but you can't find where it came from. So it's a little tricky to understand. Now, on my channel, this is going out, by the way, on Brighter with Herbert and on My Tesla Weekend. We simulcast these, try to, every Wednesday. Your viewers know a lot more about investing than I would say some of my viewers. My viewers often focus on production and factories and the batteries and things like that. So, real quick, can you explain to us FANG and the Magnificent Seven?
Yeah, so the Magnificent Seven is the big companies, Apple, Amazon, Google, Tesla's in it as well, Microsoft. Basically, in the first half of last year, when the market was still pretty down and everybody was still considering a massive recession, the Magnificent Seven, it kind of exploded out there as being the only ones that continue to see stock rising, continues to see the benefit from the AI boom, and that's why they started to. You saw the big OpenAI ChatGPT moment that happened. The world got excited about it. They started realizing, and so then investors realized it's these guys that's going to continue to deliver it. Now, the concern was that the vast majority of the gains in the first half of last year was because of these Magnificent Seven. But in the last half of last year, it spread. And so it's now the Fortune 500, they're all getting it. Why? Because this AI moment in this, this what we're witnessing last year is not a fad. This is actual productivity improvement for every single employee. I mean, every company you could probably point to employees there that are starting to use the ChatGPT and being able to become more productive. They've actually fired people because they're able to make do with less and so forth. So this is an actual impact. And so now spreading to all companies. And then the question now is, why has Tesla not yet taken advantage of that? Why is that company not yet there? And here, I don't know if you remember this, but Elon has been saying that with FSD version 12, the end-to-end neural network, what they really have on their hands is, he called it baby AGI. Baby AGI. Because in order to learn how to drive, the car, in this case, the neural network, needs to be able to read signs in all languages. And it needs to understand the context. It needs to understand what's happening around the world as it's seeing it in its cameras to be able to recognize it. So FSD version 12 on its own, without anybody coding it, figured out what fog is and realized that you can drive through fog. It can actually not only read the signs, it can read the signs, the words on the stores as you're driving by. It can see trees and knows that those are trees. It can see a fire hydrant and knows that it's a fire hydrant. Like, it will understand these things, learning and teaching itself, like figuring out on its own just by feeding it those videos. And so in order to be a baby AGI, and there's a lot of people who believe, and I'm on this camp, that in order to get to AGI, you've got to be embodied. Okay? You have to have some form that you're interacting with the real world, and that's going to be faster to be able to understand what the world is, just like a baby waking up in the world and walking around and seeing, touching a set of blocks and watching it fall. It's much more powerful than, this AGI, this neural net sitting inside a computer watching videos of YouTube and trying to make the sense of the world that way when it can't touch it, can't feel it, can't understand it. So it's a debate. I think I understand right now there's 50-50 on the scientific community. Do you need an embodied form, a robot or a car? But regardless, this just means that Tesla got just so far ahead with this. And so when you hear Elon saying that, these cars are robots on wheels, and what we're actually seeing is we're seeing it developing, it's like baby AGI. For it to learn how to drive, it needs to understand the world. People are just going over their heads. They're going, okay, whatever. That's cool. Cool party trick, Elon,
Well, but they are saying that. Now, I would agree with you that embodying, giving it the ability to do that, allows it to test its hypotheses in ways that a disembodied AGI cannot. That's going to give an advantage. I believe that if I pick up this egg with this much force, it will not crush it. Now let's find out. Let's crush an egg. But then in terms of, let's talk about insurance. Tesla insurance is growing slowly because state-by-state regulations are onerous. Getting insurance into other states is challenging. So what do you think Tesla is doing with AI in terms of insurance? Are they using it to help determine risk rates, to get the best insurers, the best customers, the best insurance rates, and make all that work? What do you see as probably
great
happening?
point, right? If I told you I had an AI company that was determining car insurance rates, what value would you give that company today that already is present in, 12 states, that already has millions of cars that are using it? And its ability, the Tesla insurance, has got the ability, because it knows how you drive. It knows which is the more dangerous drivers that actually physically leads to accidents. So somebody explained this to me, which is really, really well. He said that the reason why the laws are made today, that if you cross a stop sign and you don't stop properly on a stop sign or stop light, that's a ticket. If you drive too fast past a speed limit of the stated speed limit of a certain road, that's a ticket. And the reason why those are the measures is because that's what a police person could actually see and can give you a ticket for. But those actually do not have any correlation at all of accidents. what leads to accidents is how fast you make a turn. That's one example of what leads to accidents. It's whether or not you're actually slowing down in time before you get to the stop sign. It's not whether you stop there and fully stop. It's whether or not you are already slowing down and ahead of time. These kind of things. And Tesla knows every little detail of what actually truly leads to accidents, because they're measuring every single metric of the telemetry of the car. And so they have the ability to already very accurately decide if I'm a 5-star Uber driver, I'm a 5-star driver, I'm a very safe driver, which I am, versus the other people who can't help themselves, but they drive very, very unsafely, right? Like, how many times have this person switched lanes and it actually caused the other car to because it was too close? Tesla's cars know that. They've got cameras all over the place, and they know that you're the kind of driver that has caused that more often than this other car driver. So they can very, very accurately determine actuarially, which drivers are going to be safe. Therefore, they can insure you. Therefore, they can feel very comfortable taking on that insurance when robotaxi comes and says, okay, my robotaxi driving is much safer. It's going to be equivalent to these safe drivers out there, and we know exactly what the chances are of safety. So Tesla Insurance is a massive AI play that's happening today that's not being valued by anybody, but it's a massive business. But it's not just the insurance business, which is already pretty big. It's a signal of how you get to robotaxi. In order for robotaxi to happen, the Tesla as a corporation needs to take on the liability, and they've just happened to have insurance. Right. So when you hear about Waymo and Cruise and other, the Chinese car companies, that they're way ahead in robotaxi, does anybody then ask, well, do they have insurance? Do they have that set up?
It doesn't really jump in the same way. So the big thing you'd said earlier, which is 1,000,000% true, in order to train AGI, AI of any kind, you need a data set. So here's a deal. I'm pitching this crazy idea. I'm going to make a robotaxi. I'm going to make the software for it. But in order to do that, I need your help. Could I bother you for telemetry data from millions of vehicles on the road all the time? What would you charge me? It's an amount of money that, first of all, it can't exist, because first you'd have to equip millions of cars, and then you'd have to connect millions of cars, and then you'd have to, no one can do this. And when you were comparing real world versus simulation, that's the problem Waymo and Cruise ran into, is they were like, we're running trillions of hours in the simulator. Great. But when you get out in the real world, you're having the same problems as everyone else. How much benefit did you actually get in these simulations? So that amount of data is unprecedented. And when it comes to Tesla Insurance, the amount of telemetry data they have, it's not just that they have cameras. It's not just that they have accelerometers that can tell if you're braking too hard or turning too sharply, but they can contextualize the situation. Did you brake hard because somebody cut you off, because a child jumped out in front of you? When I had progressive snapshot on my old car, it would beep at you if you did any of the violations. So if a light turned yellow, you'd run the red light, because otherwise my insurance is going to go up if I don't run the red light. Progressive incentivizes dangerous driving. They reward you for it with money, real dollars. I believe if Tesla's not doing that yet, it's something they are working on, because it is their money. It is their insurance at that point. They would rather have you react like a human rather than pander to the test. Is my take.
Okay. So we've talked about auto bidder. We've talked about insurance. These are examples of Tesla FSD auto take rate. Okay, that's great. But the reality is nobody's going to understand that Tesla's an AI company until what? Until the bot. So it's my belief that the bot, and as we watch this out there, how can you tell me that when you see this progress that we're talking about here, that this isn't impressive, that it doesn't mean that maybe 2-3 years from now, this thing's going to be pretty impressive? What is the rate limiting step here? What is it that you're still saying to me that this is not going to be able to do this? This could all be demo, so it could all be fake. And you could say the brains isn't there yet. Okay, I give you that. The brains may not be there yet. But, well, how do you get the brains? Well, don't you need to have a world-class AI engineering team? Don't you need to have this largest supercomputers in the world? Don't you have to have all the energy to power all that? And don't you need the data to be able to teach it to be able to learn on its own? Oh, by the way, Tesla has 5.5 million cars out there, all with cameras. Whether they're using FSD or not, it is gathering data of real world AI, and it's be able to learn from this. And so the company that has the most chance to give it the smartest brains out there. Do you know how many bot companies that Scott Walter and I have looked at? We've looked at so many of them. I've had 23 videos on bots. And yet, how many of them that we looked at actually has the largest supercomputer in the world and has the data and has the engineers to do this? None. Now, they would probably partner. Many of these will survive and they'll succeed because they'll partner with OpenAI, they'll partner with DeepMind, and they'll partner with, Microsoft and others. And they will, or in the case of Digit, they're partnering with Amazon. So that will happen. I'm just saying that Tesla happens to have all of it in one go. So my point to you, Brian, is that this right now is a demo. People, we enjoyed it. We think it's great, but it hasn't quite gotten past the society's minds that this is a thing. They're still saying it's 5 years out from now. It's faked. It's not real, whatever. But when it does, and they start doing more and more demos of this, when you actually see it start walking around. In my Japanese restaurant, we now have these little bots. I'm sure you've seen them. These tiny little bots that deliver the water. And, they appeared about a year ago. And so it was like, oh my God, look, they're here. Right? We only thought that they only exist in Japan. Now they're here physically in the US. And they're driving around and they're delivering the water. And so they're now to the point where they're still there, which means that they're actually providing a real business value to the restaurant. And it's not bothering the consumers very well. When you see a Tesla bot out physically in the Tesla showroom, welcome you in, talking to you through Grok, you talking to it, there's going to be a ChatGPT moment. There'll be a moment when finally Tesla's a bot company. And I get it. And so we just need to find out when that moment happens. So that's one. And the other thing I've been saying is reverse summon and summon. So as soon as you drop yourself in front of a Target lobby and let the car drive, find a parking spot, and then vice versa, that's when people will take videos of that and they'll spread it through social media. That's the thing that could be another ChatGPT moment.
So I have seen that robot. We had one at a restaurant here in town. It for those trying to picture it, it doesn't walk. It's got wheels. It's a short little cart that has a tray on it. In the case of the restaurant, I don't remember. I don't think it was delivering water. I think it actually had food on it. And when it goes through the restaurant, because it's quite short, it plays a little tune.
Yeah.
So it gets everyone's attention, and everyone looks at it, and it's got a smiley, happy face. And the customer acceptance was instant. Everybody loved it. And it works. You tell it table 26 and it knows what a table 26 is. So that part works. In my comments, Mark said Tesla must start to sell Tesla bots before the world will take notice. I disagree. I think
All right.
the perfect demo would be put them in the showrooms, tell people to come in and get a free cup of water. And the bot will walk up to you and say, hey, can I get you a cup of water? And then it'll walk over and it'll get you a cup of water and it'll hand you a cup of water. That would be, and then when it's not doing that, it'll polish the cars. That's what I do all day is I polish cars and bring water. And that would be a halo that would make Cybertruck look anemic.
I mean, that comment makes a lot of sense, right? You need to sell it and they need to see that it's being sold before people will believe it. But as investors, we want to be ahead of that game. And so you want to do it ahead of time. And that's why I'm a kind of investor who's willing to invest in startups. Tesla has one mature business, the car business. They have an energy business that is beyond a startup business. Now it's in a self-sustaining. It's like the third stage, right? And it's about to have its massive growth. Then you have three other businesses, right? Like the robotaxi, bots that are an AI. that are very much at the very beginning. And so, do you add value to that? Do you, as an investor, add value to it? I do, because I see the future and I want to get ahead of the game. Because by the time that the general consumer goes, oh, Tesla's a bot company because I can physically see them selling it and I might actually want to buy one, it's not too late because the future is bright, but I want to get in the ground floor. So the question is, am I getting it too early? Like, if I value Tesla today as a bot company, an AI company, is it a dream that no, it's 5 years away from now? And the only thing I will tell to people is that a year ago, I was on this channel. You can watch videos of this. Many conversations I've had with people, and they told me that the bot is not in my lifetime. Then 3 months later, they will say, no, the bot will be 5 years from now. Now you heard people go, oh, yeah, no, the bot's coming, but you're being optimistic. It won't be able to work until 3 years from now. And I want to remind that person, please remind yourself, be truthful. What did you say literally 9 months ago? Like, it felt like a lifetime. Really, it feels like a lifetime, but it's not. It was just 9 months ago that you were making these kind of statements. Now every time you see a drop, every time you understand what's going on, you change your mind and you go realize it's here. Then there's some people that who told me 9 months ago that it's impossible. Today are going, the bot's a thing. I've always said the bot's a thing. And I'm like,
No.
I've got video of you, what you said 9 months ago. And I'm like, you made fun of me, So just give it another 3 months. Give it another 6 months. When do you think, Brian, that, now, so my point here, the reason why I wanted to do this show is that you and I just looked at a bunch of institutional investors and they dropped some notes. Canaccord just did it. Morgan Stanley's been doing it. Dan Ives, of course, has been big on this. We recently saw one from Jefferies. They're now talking about Tesla as first of all, as a FSD and robo-taxi. They're still saying it's many years away, but they recognize it's there. Now they're talking about Tesla as an AI company. They're talking about the bot. Well, many of them are still talking about the bot. You know what I'm saying? It's still a little too obscure for them, but it's happening. And once you hear them talk about it, then the next step after that is then they'll change their mind and go, it's coming sooner than we realize. I better invest now.
So I know I'm preaching to the choir here because everyone watching this surely knows this. Tesla has an ability to attract world-class engineers that is the envy of every other company, every other government, every other agency, because they are the best of the best. And it's a place where you can bring your best idea and watch it come to life. There were people who, like you were saying, less than a year ago, were looking at Optimus, even as of March, the March release when they showed Optimus, Bumble C, I think they called it, who looked at it and said, guys, this is a joke. They've been at it a year already, and it's still so far behind Boston Dynamics. Boston Dynamics had 20 years. And here we are today, and I will tell you, unequivocally, it is ahead of Boston Dynamics, because Boston Dynamics has tennis balls for hands. That is an ocean of advantage. That the opposable thumb is what makes us so good at using tools as humans. And this is, what are we going to see in a year?
I just dropped the video with Scott Walter and we looked at 5 different robots. Boston Dynamics we did again because it seems to be the one that the consumer thinks is so far ahead. Not just the fact that the hands aren't there. The CEO himself has come out and said that we have no intention of selling this. It wasn't designed to be sold. We can't make it to be sold. We just did it as a demo project. In fact, they just said it again at a CBS demo video. And then if you look very closely, and I've pointed it out many videos, there's QR codes all over the place because this is hard coded. It's not, and then you see a human actually standing behind in front of a computer controlling it like you would a drone, like you would a robot, a car. You would tell it what to do, and you would say, "Okay, I want you to move forward, and I want you to jump. I want you to turn around." People are watching the videos thinking that this thing's thinking on its own. It's not. It's all coded. That's the big difference. Boston Dynamics does not have an AI team. They don't have a massive data warehouse. They don't have any supercomputers. They don't have AI, and so what is this thing able to do except for you to control it like a big giant toy that you're playing with?
Well, you're
As opposed to
you're missing the objective. It met its objective, which is
Yeah.
to gain the next round of funding.
Yeah.
Because Boston
They're
Dynamics
selling-
Atlas Bot, is selling the company, not the
it's
product.
it's selling the dog. That's the one that's truly being sold, mass produced, that they're going to actually sell it with real business model.
Produced.
And even that one is all coded. It basically runs around and it's got QR codes all over the factory, and it knows where to stop and walk and so forth. But it's really there just for the video to the surveillance. And then, of course, it can open doors and all that. But if you look closely, you'll see the doors have QR codes. So that the Boston Dynamics robot knows how to push the door, and it's only a certain kind of door that it can open. Anyways, okay, that's...
So all you would need to do to circumvent, to confuse that bot, is bring
the
a
door.
Sharpie. Just
Yeah.
black out the QR code, and he's like, well, I could be anywhere.
Yeah,
That's-
so it's not thinking on its own. So okay, so I mean, so this Tesla bot, as you saw here, is very impressive. People still don't believe, and they're still saying no, many years away. Okay, so how many years does it have to be away? That's my question for you to invest. If it's 3 years from now, is it 5 years from now?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it 10 years
And-
from now? Like when is it? Is it it's not worth investing today? I don't want people to invest. I'm just saying, as an investor, I've already made my mind.
A question you need to ask yourself is that I had a conversation with a gentleman on X who said the robotaxi it might be within 10 years. And I said, oh, good. So we agree it will be solved. The only question is when. And if you agree that Tesla is going to solve it within 10 years, why would you not be excited today? I mean, I'm excited, but then again, I excite easily.
Okay, so we've got the bot. I think the bot's going to happen. Now, FSD version 12, we don't know yet if that's a step change and whether or not, at least it has the most logical chance of success, but we don't know yet how long that will take. That I'll give to people. And that's where driving is a lot harder problem. And this is where Elon, when he says that driving is like AGI, the neural net needs to understand the world like nothing else. It needs to understand what rain is, in order to drive through the one of the biggest challenges apparently with FSD version 12 is the different climates that it needs to be able to drive through. And it's right now, it's very well trained in the sunny parts of California, but it needs to find different climate environments to learn from that. But what people are forgetting is this thing is teaching itself. It's learning on its own. And so at that point, it's just compute constrained and it's just time constrained.
And the beauty of version 12 is that, so Elon has always been on the bleeding edge with his build. He's got the Elon mode. And those, any software engineer worth his salt is going to prioritize for the owner's use case, which is why people who live in the areas where Elon tends to drive have very good experience, because anything that you can manually add to it, they have. But you can't do that for the whole world. That doesn't scale. So with V12, what is hoped is that you will get an opportunity to grow it that way, to have, if it works in every foggy use case, in any foggy use case, it'll work in every foggy use case. If it worked in any roundabout, it'll work in every roundabout. And
Exactly.
That's where, I mean, we saw what Cruise's approach was. Once we got to look behind the curtain, we realized there is no wizard. It's a bunch of dudes sitting at a pipe organ.
Yeah, when we heard about that, we learned about that, you have to ask that question all the time, which is there a human sitting in a office that is teleoperating this particular vehicle in the case of Cruise, or the robots? And there's nothing wrong with teleoperating robots or cruise of cars, because that is part of what they do to train and teach these. Even this bot here is teleoperated. The question is, when you saw this demo, were they truthful in whether or not that demo was the bot doing it on its own, learning on its own, acting on its own, making decisions on its own, or was it teleoperated? There's another human in in a suit, and whatever the human does, that's what the bot does. Or in the case of Cruise, every 2 to 3 miles, a human was actually even though you thought you were going to a self-driving car, it wasn't. There was a human looking at the video and playing a video game and going, "Oh, I better press the gas now. I better stop because I see a person walking." They are actually in control of the car, and so
Yeah.
that's fraudulent. That's fake.
Yeah.
And so that's where you have to watch out for, because when you see the Chinese robo taxis and they're driving around and so forth, some of them could be very similar to this, as teleoperated. And then same thing with these bots, as I just mentioned with Bonds and Dynamics, many of them are teleoperated. And so you think what you're seeing is real and it's not. And so what Elon and Tesla, when they do their demos, they're very clearly saying that this is, the same speed. We didn't speed this up. This is the bot teaching this and learning. And they actually had dropped demos. Every other demo is about the brain and how it learned how to do that on its own without it doing that. And then there was certainly a video where they had a teleoperated human on the video showing you that I'm controlling the bot this way as well.
So the one thing I'd like to mention real quick is if you haven't hit the thumbs up on either channel, we are simulcasting on Brighter with Herbert and on My Tesla Weekend. Hit the thumb. It's how the algorithm knows to show this high quality video to other people. It is much appreciated. And you could subscribe. I guess I subscribe to Herbert's channel. It's pretty good. It's pretty good, I guess.
I subscribed to you. You were my first Tesla channel that I subscribed to, by the way. So the other thing I just want to point out about this conversation is, let's say that I'm wrong. Let's say you're wrong. Let's say we're off. Well, let's say we're right. Okay. So let's figure out what percentage is probability that I'm wrong. There's time frames. There's whether or not it will even happen. But what happens if we're right? Yeah. So we're talking about robotaxi. We're talking about Dojo as a service, as an AI service. And we're talking about bots. These three markets on their own are like, it's crazy, the TAMs. It's bigger than any other TAM of any other business that's ever made. Like pharmaceutical industry, the energy industry are probably the top 1 and 2 businesses ever, industries out there, right? But AI has taken, of course, if you want a piece of that, bots, as we've already calculated, it's going to be more than 1 bot per human, if not 2 or 3 bots per human at some point. And their business model is so crazy. And then robotaxi will dwarf the auto business, dwarf it. So it's like, even if we were just wrong, first of all, there's 3 opportunities here, if not more. There's going to be many opportunities coming out of AI, Tesla's AI efforts. Then these are just 3 of them. You know what I mean? Like you just said, insurance. They could probably just completely redefine insurance because they'll know exactly what your risk level is. And then the ones who are safe, maybe you don't have to pay any insurance at all. You know what I mean? Like they'll just cover it.
Yeah. The beauty on insurance is not only is Tesla able to give safe drivers the best rates, if you're not the kind of customer they want, they will charge you a higher rate. And what ends up happening is all of the A-plus customers that are currently residing with Geico and Progressive and State Farm will migrate to Tesla, meaning the risk pool just got uglier for everyone except Tesla. And that's going to cause a ripple that may take some time to feel, but it will be felt.
Yeah, well, Tesla won't accept any bad drivers, period. And then they will have to be forced to accept insurance from the other car companies who don't know that they're the bad drivers. They have no idea. And that's why they kind of do the batch.
I don't have any tickets. Yeah, but you're gonna. You're gonna, my friend. The data gathering is just off the charts. And if we're right, if the bots themselves are out on the market in a meaningful way within 5 years, I have no words. I have no words to describe what that would mean. And the same with all of this. Even energy deployment. 2 years ago, year and a half ago, I asked Matt Smith, at the time of Good Soil Investments, now with Rebellionaire, I said, when will Wall Street start pricing in stationary storage? And he said, as soon as it's a big enough line item, on the books, they'll count it. And sure enough, 3 months later, 6 months later, they were all counting it because it got big enough. And now
It's
it's
9%
it's
margins.
and it's going to double again this year. By the end of this year's number should easily be double last year, and 25's number should double 24. I mean,
Okay.
and again,
So the
yeah,
other
this,
thing I want to talk about is I think the other angle I saw some people here in the comments saying is that, don't you know that this could be faked? Elon has faked previous things in the past. So let's talk about that. What's
Sure.
the likelihood that they're faking the fact that they have the largest supercomputers in the world?
zero. I mean,
What's the likelihood? You can't hide that, right? You can't,
there's receipts. Yeah, we know who they bought it from.
right? We know that Nvidia already announced that they've sold this to them. What's the chance that they're faking that these the people that they've hired are the best engineers in the world?
Zero.
Because
Zero.
you can
Go
look
to
up their
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn's.
Yep,
Yeah, you can
take a look.
You can hear them all do presentations and so forth. What's a chance that FSD and robotaxis faked? Well, how many people? What, 500,000? A million? Almost 500,000 people? I'm one of them. I turn it on, and I physically see my car, do mistakes and also do incredible things with it. Like, so is that faked? Because I'm purposely doing this. Now, there was certainly a video that was done many years ago that was shown as a demo that I think some parts of that was proven to be faked, or they didn't show the truth around it. So that part,
Yeah. It was a pre-planned route that
Yeah.
the vehicle, that the software had been optimized.
and they
to
only
run.
picked the parts where it worked well. So that part, okay, you're right. That could have been faked, but the FSD and autopilot and full self-driving beta is not faked. I'm personally turning it on, turning it off, and playing with it, and we see all these videos out there of consumers. So that's not faked, right? That's
Right.
not faked.
Right.
I could play with it. Now, could the bot video be faked? Yeah, that could be faked. We could be tricked, right?
Yeah, and I would take issue with the word faked because what I hear you saying is it could be overstated, or certain things could be not fully disclosed. But to your point, and that was a great example of all the key ingredients are there. When someone says, "Oh, we never went to the moon," I would ask, at what point did they start faking it? Because we know they built a massive rocket. We know they went around the moon. We know, all. At what point do you, and the later, we went back. I mean, we recovered. At which part would they say, okay, this is the part we're going to fake? It doesn't make sense. I mean, you still have to build the massive rocket. Where's the savings?
Maybe all the SpaceX rockets are all faked. They're just so good.
Oh.
Every 3 days, they're able to fake a video, and the humans walking around and taking videos of those videos.
Well,
And
yeah,
it's just-
and get the clouds to match in all the booster footage. How do you do it? That's what the AI compute is being used for.
But if that's not fake, then SpaceX is able to do that, but everything Tesla's doing is fake. But okay, so the chances of these things are low. In my estimation, you as an investor can make your own decision. They can certainly believe that the bot's not where it is. But as an investor, it's all about looking at the probabilities. And which other company, Brian, has the potential to do what we're talking about? Okay, so we're talking about robotaxi, we're talking about bots. And again, we went through the list. In order to do this, you need to have these 6 things that I've been saying over and over again, right?
Right. So the obvious answer is Apple Car. Hey, I've been told by the skeptics. No, but the answer is you would need an Apple Car plus an Apple bot. So not Apple.
I mean, it could be
There's-
Google, right? DeepMind is making tremendous progress. They've OpenAI, by the way, the CIO of OpenAI, they've invested in a bot company. I can't remember which one it was that I did a thing on. And the CIO was on an interview, and he said that we sat down and decided that we're not going to do robots as an OpenAI company. And the reason is, he said on the interview, was that in order to do this, you'd need to be committed. You'd need to be able to make thousands of bots. you'd need to have so much time. And we just decided to focus our attention on the AGI, the conversational AI part of it. But doesn't mean that they're not going to invest in a bot company that's going to do this. So Google DeepMind, you bet that they're working on this. They are. DeepMind is very advanced in bot robotics. And then you've got Microsoft and OpenAI, their partnership. You bet they're working on this. And you got Amazon. And you know who else? You know who else? The Chinese government. So the Chinese government, wasn't it you and I that we presented that news? The Chinese government came out just 3 weeks ago and came out and said that we are making a massive push, that we want to become the leader in humanoid robots by 2027. The leader. And why? Because Chinese is a manufacturing hub. They are the manufacturing hub of the world. And so they are afraid that if they don't join the game and have humanoid robots, you're going to lose all your manufacturing factories. They don't have to be in China anymore. They're all going to go to every, wherever they need to be, because they're going to be run by low cost labor, which is bots, humanoid bots. So when the Chinese government said this, you know what they're going to do. They're going to invest heavily. They're going to make the laws possible. They're going to support the industry. This is going to be a big deal. And so this is this bot movement and this robotaxi movement and this AI movement. It's not just the fact that we're great investors and we want to invest. This is like, I keep saying to you, a war, and that countries are realizing this, not just corporations and companies, countries, because this is going to change the world order big time. So
yeah, it's all, boy, I tell you, I don't know, if I was a young man today, this would be the industry that I would be trying to work in. But if I was younger than that, the generation after them, I hope they're able to just enjoy life, because I don't know what professions will look like in 20 years.
So I think that point you just made makes sense, right? Which is, it's inevitable. AI is inevitable.
Yes.
The question is when the timing is going to happen. And in fact, the people who think it's going to happen much later are the ones that are being proven wrong. It's actually happening much sooner than the people who are thinking it's much later, right?
Yeah.
It's this what's been happening the last several years.
Yeah.
And so it's inevitable that we're going to get to AGI. It's inevitable that we're going to get to robots. And so then, just like you said earlier, it's not the question of whether or not it can't be done. It's impossible. That's not even the debate we're having right now. Debate is which company and when.
Yes.
And then my argument, and that's why we started this show, is that why is Tesla not at the forefront of this conversation today, when I and you can clearly see all the pieces are in place for Tesla to be not only a leader, but the best by far. Like, let's say that there's 5 other robot companies that are further ahead in being able to show you that they have an amazing robot. Maybe they even have the brains. They partner with Google DeepMind. They got an incredible brain. Okay. Who's going to manufacture it at scale? Well, now you're going to have to partner with somebody, so yet another partner. But you've got this one company that can do all of it at the same time. And by the way, when it comes to bots, there's no competition. It doesn't matter if these 5 companies all succeed and they're all equal size to Tesla. It doesn't matter. Tesla will still succeed and will become still the largest company in the world. Doesn't matter how many people, because there's no competition here. The competition won't come into play for another 20 years when you're talking 20 billion bots in the marketplace. That's when you're going to bump into a competition.
And one thing we've seen is that Tesla can mass produce sophisticated devices at costs that make their rivals jealous, I guess would be an understatement, that put the fear of God into them. Because how on earth are you selling a Tesla Model 3 for under 40,000 and not losing 20 grand on it? They can't figure that out. And so,
Yeah. So this whole thing is going to change business models left, right, and center. So we just talked about how insurance could change the way that you pay for a car and how much you pay for a car on a monthly basis. If Tesla owns insurance and knows how good a driver you are, you could stop paying $1,000 a month extra that you normally are paying now. If if there's just so many examples, but if a robot is making my car, could the price of my car fall to the point where I'm just paying a monthly fee now instead of that? So now car industry will be completely disrupted versus other car industries who don't have robots. These things are, it's like they're, so that's the thing about, I was saying, by the way, I was going, Tesla's a car company today, but Tesla's an AI robotics company today. And if I were Tesla, and I am because I'm invested in them, I would put all full force on the robots, because the robots impact every business that Tesla's in, every single business. It will increase the car business. It will increase the solar business and the energy business, right? It will increase, just everything that Tesla's doing. The manufacturing and the factories will be impacted by the bots, big time.
Once we get to the point, and it is on the horizon, where the bots can build the factory that builds the bots, human labor.
The bots build the bots, and then at that point, you were saying that there's 5 competitors, but the first company that can have the bots build the bots, it's exponentially accelerating how fast that they can produce it.
If they can build the factories, then they can do the mining, they can do the refining, they can do the construction and assembly. The only cost in the entire equation becomes the electricity. And that's it.
And who has batteries that has free electricity from solar? Who's well positioned to do that?
Nobody I can think of.
Elon has said that these data centers running the AGI, you can easily know where they are, because even from space, you can see the lights, because the sheer power of electricity that they will need to run all those computers, you can't hide it. It needs all that energy. And so who's going to provide that energy? Yeah. Unless you had a big, giant energy division that had megapacks that has the batteries also,
It could be anyone. You never know. You never know.
It could be anybody.
I think Saudi Aramco is going to take the lead on that one too.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's okay. So this is a little bit of a, it's just a little bit of a, actually it's a good thing, right? It's a good thing that we are recognizing that Tesla is a bot company, AI company. Even when Elon says it himself, people are still not listening. But it is the case, and it's going to happen. It's inevitable. It's a matter of time. And then us investors will do very well. It's the same thing, isn't it? It's all back over again to when Tesla was an EV company. And in 2012, I took a bet and said that, electric vehicles is going to be a thing. Do you know how many people I've had debates with and since 2012? Electric vehicles? They can't drive. They're terrible cars. It'll never happen. Do you know how big the industry is? These guys will never let that happen. The governments will go against this. And I'm like, it's a better car. It's just all over the place. And then they just couldn't believe me. And then now here we are. And guess what? They forgot all about that.
I never said that. I was on board from day one. Really? Because your portfolio doesn't reflect that.
Is here we're going to be at now as well.
Yeah. I do want to thank you for giving me so much of your time today. For those who don't know, I will be going to CES next week, the Consumer Electronics Show, and hopefully that means I get to check out the Boring Tunnel in person. I've been there to see it twice and never been able to because I didn't know the right people or have, I wasn't at a convention. There wasn't a convention taking place for me to participate in. So this should be a lot of fun. Thanks to everybody who makes this whole experience possible. I could not go without the love and support of viewers like you. So thank you for that.
So Brian is somebody you need to follow on his channel, My Tesla Weekend. He's one of the few that actually spends a lot of time and money to fly to these locations and brings you interviews with all these different car companies and all these experts out there. So follow him as on his channel. Thank you, everybody. Follow us every week. We'll do this live stream. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.